Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Tim here. All right, Tim from Military Arms Channel in the house hanging out. We are going to be taking a 338 Lapua to a mile. All right, we went out the other day with Gable Sporting Goods. Rome up there, really nice guy, and he has a mile long range. Yeah. We're able to go out and do some shooting. You know, with this particular rifle, we've got a Desert Tech SRS. This is a covert chassis. You know that because it's got the little short rail section on the front. This originally had the 16-inch 308 barrel in it. And of course, it only pops out to about right here when it's got the full-length barrel in it, which is really cool.
Because it's a bullpup, right?
It is a bullpup. Yep. So the action's way back here. Okay. This one has a 338 Lapua barrel in it currently. This is a 24-inch 338 Lapua barrel. On the front end, we've got a KG made Rogue 338, and we've just been we're going to be shooting the 250 grain Federal Gold Medal match. You were the one that turned me on to this rifle.
Was I? Yeah. I've been in love with this rifle since I first learned of it, and I've been playing around with Remington 700 type actions for a long, long time. And then I got introduced to this, I think at SHOT Show or someplace, and when they told me about the fact that you could quickly change calibers, and you know, literally with the tool that's supplied, little T-wrench that's a torque wrench, you can actually put a barrel in, take a barrel out within, I mean, I can do it in less than 2 minutes, do a caliber conversion. You pop the barrel in, take the butt plate off, swap out the bolts, use a different magazine, boom. And this gun will go all the way down to the smallest caliber you can think of, and you're running the largest caliber that this chassis can handle, which is 338 Lapua. And if you want to go up from that to 50 BMG, they make one of these just even bigger for 50. But yeah, so you're running the biggest cartridge I'm aware of that this system can actually run, and I fell in love with it. Now there's a learning curve, isn't there? Getting used to having your bolt back here versus having it up here. But I fell in love with the action once I learned it. I fell in love with it, and this is my only bolt gun that I really do anything outside of the milsurps. The only bolt gun I will do anything with because I'm so impressed with it.
Well, previous to taking this rifle out to a mile, Chad and I had only shot it out to about 600 yards, and really for 338, it's just starting to stretch its legs at 600. 338 bunks the wind really well. It's got reasonably good velocity, big heavy pills that really, you know, really can bunk the wind again really well. A few limiting factors for a mile-long shot that were kind of messing with us a little bit. Some things that I may need to alleviate and deal with. One is we have no cant built into this mount. So for such a long shot, it would help to have that extra 20 MOA cant in the mount. We wound up having to dial a good bit. This is a Leupold Mark IV, and so 4.5 to 14. Okay. And another issue was the cant. We did not have like a cant or level device on this rifle, so when you start going a mile, that cant can be a big deal. You notice this Atlas bipod, you know, the rifle will cant and move a little bit.
Yeah, you can loosen that.
But if your rifle's not level, shot for shot, just even that little bit of cant can equate to a couple of feet.
A couple of degrees is the difference between a hit or miss at a mile.
That's right.
I mean, and the human eye, without the aid of a leveling device, for most people, I won't say all people can do it, it's pretty darn hard to get that rifle perfectly horizontal every time.
Gosh, yeah.
Without something showing you it's horizontal.
Yeah, so we got staged up in the prone, started to take a couple of shots. We had Pete from Georgia Firing Line Gunsmithing helping call some shots. Excellent spotter, really knows about how to go to extreme long range. Was able to get us really close on the target. I had one miss that looked really cool, hitting in the water, you know, in the backgrounds. It was kind of like a low swampy area that we were shooting into. It was really cool. And I was finally able to log an impact. 1 mil? Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
Yes.
You hit it.
Yes. Nice.
Yeehaw.
With factory ammo, that's pretty darn good, man.
All right, I think I know where it holds at now. So we did a good bit of shooting, you know, logged an impact, had some really fun misses, and really spotting those shots is also just fun in its own regard. Really seeing like where those shots are going and watching the wind kick up, like you're watching the shot and it's like, yep, it's money, it's money, it's money. No, it's not. And then the wind blows.
So through the spotting scope, because I did a lot of spotting along with Pete, we were watching the rounds go out so we could give Eric and the other shooters wind calls. You could watch that bullet arc out. It's called trace, and it's just a atmospheric distortion, we'll call it. And you can see it going. And at the very end out there, you see the wind pick the bullet up and pull it off to one side or the other.
Yep.
It's a totally different game when you're shooting that far. It's not easy.
You have to factor in the twist. Like, so a right-hand twist, right? It's like throwing a football and it spins and stabilizes. Well, when that projectile is leaving the barrel on a right-hand twist, it's spinning like this, right? What's happening? As it's going down range, it's going to tend to want to walk to the right, right? So you actually have to factor in that bit of stabilization as that projectile goes down range. You've got to factor in that right-hand twist. For such a long distance, it starts to become a factor. And there's all these other atmospheric conditions and things that come into play that you have to consider when making a shot that far.
Even planet rotation. That's another factor that is actually one that Pete was dialing into his calculator, his ballistics calculator. Planet rotation. For those of you not familiar with long-range shooting, you're probably going to go, what? But yeah, I mean, all that really does play a role. What's the flight time on something like that?
Okay, so here's one of the really interesting things about it. You might have noticed in the clip that you just heard. So you got the report of the rifle, bang, rifle goes off. Projectile's flying at high velocity downrange. It takes over 3 seconds for it to get there. All right, but you would think, okay, earlier Chad and I were talking about it, and it's like, well, all right, well then that means that you'll hear the gong splash after 6 seconds. That's not true. The sound is moving slower than the projectile was moving when it got there. So you got 3 seconds of air time that projectile's in the air, and then you see the impact downrange. All right, the sound of the impact is now traveling back towards you, but the sound is only moving at what, like 1,100 feet per second or something like that?
Or slower, depending on atmospheric conditions.
It depends on elevation and atmospheric conditions, but the speed of sound is much slower than a projectile, so it's going to take about 5 seconds for the sound to come back. So that means that from the time the shooter squeezes the trigger to the time you actually hear what happened downrange is about an 8 to 9 second period.
It's crazy.
It's crazy to think about when you're out there and you see how far it is.
Yeah, and with a gun like this, 3 second flight time, that means boom, with a rifle that has fairly stout recoil, you still have time to settle back in and get back on the target and watch your own splash if it happens. Usually you don't have that. You're shooting at 1,000 yards. If you have a heavy recoiling rifle, you're not going to get your rifle back on target before you see splash.
That's right.
At a mile, you got time to take a sip of Coke and
check your watch.
Maybe respond to a tweet or something, and waiting for that round to get there. It's really cool.
So we got Chad behind it. I wanted him to try it. I wasn't struggle busting terribly bad. I did manage to get one hit at a mile. We got Chad behind it. He was able to log a couple of good hits there. Impact.
Look at that.
So Chad was able to connect with the rifle beautifully. We were running factory ammunition. It was just 250 grain federal gold medal match factory ammo. Now, one thing we will say about this is that our deviation in velocities, I guess you could call it our extreme spread. Our extreme spread was, I want to say on the top end, about 60 feet per second.
Yeah.
And what Pete was telling us was that 60 feet per second can equate to the target height at that distance that we were shooting. It was like a 4-foot tall target. So when you're shooting something that far away, and that extreme spread becomes a pretty important metric to consider. That's where hand loads are going to be your best friend. When you dial in a really good hand load and you've got that extreme spread down to like 9 feet per second or something like that, and you've got, every round is really consistent, that's where your shot-to-shot consistency, you're removing an additional factor from the long-range equation, okay? You have the anti-cant device. You got the rifle, dialed in really nice, set up nice and solid. You've got your, less dialing that you're having to do by having more, more cant in the base. All of these factors, and then running like a really good hand load. Is that to say that Chad and I both would have achieved more hits than we did if we had more consistent ammunition? According to Pete, possibly. The factory ammunition, although it's great, it does have limiting factors to how well you can get out of it and everything. And a lot of the misses that I have were so close. Like some of them were like down in the dirt and kicking dirt on the target. Some of them were just right over the top and splashing water up. I mean, it's just so crazy to see those projectiles go in there. And to think that there's this intricate song and dance, this scientific song and dance that has to occur for you to make that projectile get there. It's just crazy.
It is crazy, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. We were shooting down a line that had been cut into a forest, essentially, and what's crazy to think about, we're looking for wind calls on the ground tells, looking at the blades of grass, looking at the leaves, looking at the mirage, trying to get wind so we could give you an update on for your hold. But also that round is traveling above the tree line. So the trees are shielding us somewhat from the wind. When that bullet gets up above the tree line, different wind conditions that you can't call.
It's totally random.
I mean, it's just crazy. All the things that have to be factored in to get you on at a mile or beyond. There's guys that shoot 2,000 yards, man.
I know.
Think about the stuff they're doing. It's insane. It's a sport in and of itself, but a very cool one.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very different aspect of long-range shooting, and you will have a special appreciation for long-range shooting after you've done what they call extreme long range. I mean, a mile, mile and a half. I think the world record sniper kill with the bolt gun is like 2,000 yards or something. The Canadian
guy
did that, and
I think it was with the 338 too.
It was with 338, but I think wasn't with like a Sako TRG-42. What was he using, or was it a shot
that? I don't recall.
I don't recall which rifle, but guys, there's been some amazing feats of soldiering done with these rifles and at extreme long distances. But it really does help you appreciate. When we got to 1,000, here I am dinging steel with a K31 at 1,000 yards with irons. You think, oh, 1,000 yards, that's not far. Like after shooting a mile, you almost feel like 1,000 is not far anymore. Now, we also had Jason shoot.
Yeah, Jason wanted to fire a few rounds.
Yeah, he was
really excited.
Oh, of course. Of course. I mean, there's not very many people that have opportunity to shoot a mile, so we wanted to share our kind of adventure with you. It's the first time I've ever taken a point target type rifle out to that kind of distance. I've registered machine guns at that distance and mortars at that distance. I've never shot a point rifle at a mile. I mean, it's just an unfathomable amount of distance, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
it's just such a long distance. It's just almost impractical, but it's just cool to know that these rifles can do it. So, guys, I really want to thank you today for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. It's really fun to take guns out to long range. It's always fun to stretch your limitations and see what you think you can do. If you enjoy these types of videos and you want to see more, consider supporting us on Patreon or purchasing a man can or any merchandise you buy over on our website, such as t-shirts and things like that. All those funds go right back into supporting the channel. Also, Tim here, he's on Patreon. He is 100% Patreon supported. If you guys love Tim's channel and you want to support what he does, consider going over there and becoming a Patreon. Tim's a great guy, and we really love what he does with his channel. And we were really stoked to have him hanging out with us down here.
It was an absolute blast, man. I love coming down, visiting you guys. You always have something special in store. This was definitely a treat. And like Eric said, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for all the support. And yeah, it's been amazing, man.
That's right. Make sure you go over to Military Arms channel. Subscribe to Tim. He's a great dude. They've always got tons of cool stuff going on. Stay tuned, guys. Many more videos on the way. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.